Change your thoughts, change your life. Let's do it. My name's Christine L. Conroy. Welcome to Happy Stuff and Fluff, a channel for women over 50 who are getting happy and growing younger. If this is your first visit, please consider subscribing and remember to hit the bell so that you are notified each time a new video comes out. Hi, so did you manage to do the 3 kind things on International Day of Happiness or any other day? I know some of you won't even have seen that video until after Happiness Day. If you did, let us know what happened and put it in the comments box. That would be great. I also asked that you try to catch yourself thinking and write down whatever thought it was and whether or not it was a negative thought. If you did do that, I'm pretty sure you'll be quite shocked at how negative your thinking actually is, and we'll come back to that in a second. Now, in the first of this series, so if this is the first time you've visited us, this is the second video in a series. I'll leave the first one, a link here. Watch that first and then come back to this one. Because I mentioned in that video cognitive behavioural therapy, well, we're calling it now cognitive behavioural technique. As I said, this is something that I think everyone can benefit from, whether they are in need of therapy or not. But anyway, as a practicing positive psychology coach, I'm not a therapist. And so we're calling this cognitive behavioural technique. And I mentioned that they use the ABC model, which is this. You can see here. Now, I have got notes, so forgive me if you see me head go down. It's a big subject and I want to be sure that I say everything to you that I want you to hear. So, you can see this then. A is for adversity, B for belief and C for consequence, or adversity or activating event. Now, when something happens to us, we kind of believe that it's A to C, that something happens and then we feel something about it. So, an activating event happens and you immediately feel worried or immediately feel angry, excuse me, or sad even. But that's from A to C, and we're actually missing out a key ingredient. Now, let's just take an everyday kind of something that might happen to you. It's a silly example really, I guess, but it could happen. And we can use that example and run through the ABC model so that you get what we're talking about. So when we're thinking about A to C, A is for adversity. Have a look at this. So let's say, for example, you're out in the supermarket shopping and you see someone you know and she looks at you and you wave and she blanks you totally. She just ignores you, turns away and carries on doing something else. You feel confused, hurt, angry, possibly rejected. Okay. What we're missing out here is something happens in between that activating event and your feeling. Something causes you to feel sad, hurt, rejected. That's the B. This is the belief, because remember we're talking about the fact that it isn't what happens to you, but what you think about what happens to you that causes you the problem. So let's have a look at what you could think about that then. Let's have a look at the B for belief, which was the missing step. You might think to yourself, how rude. Very rude, actually. You might think, who does she think she is? I won't speak to her again. Those thoughts might go through your mind. You might think, oh, she doesn't want to speak to me. Maybe she doesn't like me anymore. Maybe I did something wrong. Now, you may not think any of those thoughts, but you could do. You could think those thoughts, and then you could go home ruminating about that for the rest of the day. Okay, it's quite possible that that could happen. You will have heard people say, you are what you think. And I believe the Buddha said it this way. Forgive me if I'm not quoting correctly here. I think it was the Buddha who said, you become what you think about all day long. Okay, now have a look at this, because this is really what they mean by that. So every time when you have a thought, thoughts produce chemicals in the brain. Those chemicals transmit signals to the body, and every thought is matched by a feeling. You begin to feel the way you are thinking. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm worried about something, if I have a thought that's a worrisome thought, I immediately get a feeling in my stomach. Okay, I get this really tight feeling in my stomach. Okay, so question of the day then, where do you feel it? You know, if you are worried or having worried thoughts or angry thoughts, where do you feel it? You will get a physiological feeling when you are worried. Do you feel it in your tummy, like me? Do you feel it in your chest? Do you get a headache? Drop it in the comments box and let me know where you feel these negative thoughts. Because negative thoughts produce neuropeptides and you feel bad. Okay. Now, those feelings send messages back to your brain and you begin to think the way you are feeling. This is a vicious cycle then. And if we're not careful, it becomes a vicious downward negative spiral, which can lead to all kinds of horrible things, permanent low levels of depression, fed upness. If it's really bad, it can actually make you ill. Okay, so this is what we want to stop. But this is what people mean when they say you become what you think about all day long. Now then, you will have also heard this, that we think, and the figure that's thrown out there is 60,000 thoughts a day. And I don't know where that comes from, but we certainly think a lot of thoughts in any given day. And 80% of those thoughts are negative. If you did catch yourself thinking, I think you'd be shocked at just how negative your thinking is. But think about that this way. If one of our definitions, if you think right back to the very beginning of Happy Stuff and Fluff, and one of the definitions was experiencing positive emotions most of the time, and this is happening when you think negatively, and we think negatively so much, then it's hardly any wonder that we are walking around in a not so happy state. Okay. So, what can we do about this then? How can we change this? Well, what we do is we now start to question our thoughts and beliefs. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to think about something that's bothering you. And I want you to do this exercise. So first of all, I'll tell you what I want you to do, and then I'll run our scenario through these steps. So first of all, this is an exercise. What I want you to do is to think about a problem that you have at the moment, a worry or a concern, and I want you to write it down. It's probably going to take you about half an hour to do this actually, but well worth it, I promise you. So think about the challenge, and then I want you to list all the thoughts and concerns that you have related to that challenge. List them 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep going until you can't write anymore, until you've said everything you want to say about it. Then I want you to go away and leave it and meditate for 10 minutes. Now, if you don't meditate or you've never meditated before, actually, I was just going to say I'll put a link up to the little meditation exercise we did, but that was really related to the holidays, wasn't it, to Christmas? But I think it could be good if you've never meditated before. You could listen to that, it will give you a kickstart. But if you don't meditate, go away and do something else. Something that will take your mind off what you've just written down. So if watching a good television programme, read a book, go and talk to a friend, whatever you need to do. And then come back and have a look at these thoughts. Now, when you look at each one of these thoughts, I want you to ask yourself, is that true? What are the facts concerning that thought? Is it actually true? Then ask, what are my subjective thoughts about that? What evidence do I have to back up my thinking? What evidence contradicts my thinking? Is this stinking thinking? What else might this mean? Can I see it in a different way? So let's go back to our shopping example. What are the facts? Okay, she ignored me. She clearly ignored you. What are my subjective perceptions about that? Well, let's say you ended up thinking she doesn't like me anymore. I must have done something wrong. What evidence supports those perceptions? Well, she didn't say hello. She blanked me. What evidence contradicts your thoughts could be, well, I know I haven't done anything to upset her. Could this be stinking thinking? Am I jumping immediately to negative conclusions, assuming it must be my fault? What else might this mean? Can I see it differently? This is the big one. One of the most significant findings in psychology in the last 20 years is that an individual can choose the way they think. So here is where you make your choice. So instead of thinking, she doesn't like me anymore, I must have done something wrong, I'll never speak to her again, and all of those thoughts, you could think, well, actually, she did look a bit frazzled. Maybe she's a lot on her mind. Maybe she really didn't see me. There could be something wrong with her. I'll give her a call when I get home. You see? That would be how you would work your way through that particular scenario. Okay, now I know this is, it's a big subject. When you put your problem through these steps, you may not actually solve your issue or solve your problem. But once you start to reprogram your thinking, a little bit of positivity slips in there, which stops you from going into this negative downward spiral and gives you a little bit step up to a positive upward spiral. Now, whereas I say, where it may not solve your problem totally, it will put you in a better frame of mind to be able to look at your problem in a different, critical way, and you have much more chance of solving that problem when you're in a positive frame of mind than when you're in a negative frame of mind. Start to do this with issues that you have. Just question your thoughts, because guess what? Just because you think it doesn't mean it's true. That's where we want to get you to, that point. Let's get back to our friend. She may well have blanked you. She could be all of those things. She could be very rude. All of those things could be true. But if you work through this system, okay, and you find out, well, actually, yes, it was true, then you can make the decision. Is it worth me contacting her to find out why, so that we can keep this friendship going, or not? That's up to you. But at least you are thinking positively, healthily, and a little bit more critically. Okay, if you have any questions on this, please drop them in the comments box below. Work through one of your issues. Start with a small one first. Not a huge looming problem. Start with a small one first. See how you get along with that. If you get stuck, email me or drop a comment in and maybe someone else can answer your question. Now, incidentally, one of you, somebody, I shan't give the name, wrote to me an email saying that I had answered one of her comments in the comments box, and she didn't know whether she could continue in that space on comments box, that conversation, so she emailed me instead. But actually, yes, you can. So I try to answer, well, I answer all your comments. If you see my answer to your comment and then you want to say something else, carry that thread on. It's perfectly fine to do that. Don't lose your thought. Put it down underneath the comment. And again, if I can answer that, I will. Okay. Let me know what you think about this. I need to know whether you want me to motor along and get us going through, because there's a lot more in terms of becoming more self-aware about our thoughts and our thinking. because you know what? On the Happy Stuff and Fluff, we are getting happy and growing younger. Okay, thanks for being here. You know I appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.